Galnet News Digest, 8th of July 3307. We read the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news, Federation in Secession crisis.
One more week for Ida.
Thargoids come out to play.
Buckyballers finish last. There was a plan for what would happen if the Azaladchu-Free lost. There was a plan for what would happen if the conflict was unresolved, or if the Azaladchu-Free ended 1, 2 or 3 tiers ahead of the federal forces in the form of Nesh Incorporated. But there was no plan for the total and utter humiliation of the Federation at the hands of the tiny Azaladchu-Free. Perhaps it wasn't quite as bad as the Federation losing by the full 8 tiers, which would most likely have meant even Sol choosing to leave the Federation. But it was pretty bad. In the light of the Federation's badly organised and poorly executed attempt at quelling the rebellion, not only the Azaladchu-Free, but also the Coalition of Uteran, the LP 726-6 Free, and Gluskap Labour have declared their independence, and the Federation is left wondering what other once-loyal factions will choose to leave as a result of Hudson and Archer's disastrous attempts to use the 7 Martyrs bombings as an excuse to snoop on the people and organisations of the Federation. The humiliating defeat of Hudson at the hands of a tiny provincial faction must surely bring his future as president into doubt. At the very least, his incompetent second-in-command, Jerome Archer, must surely resign after this federal fiasco.
After an amazing effort over the past 2 weeks and following the expulsion of the marginal Thargoid presence in 4 systems where they seemed unshakable, Operation Ida has completed repairs in the Coalsack Nebula and the Pleiades, with all damaged starports in these regions brought fully back online today. The only remaining station requiring repair is the Kumo Council's outpost in the California Nebula. Operation Ida remains impartial to galactic politics and doesn't really mind if the damaged starport belongs to a bunch of space pirates who happily steal all the repair materials. Already 50% repaired thanks to the extensive use of fleet carriers to ship in materials, California Freeport will be fully operational for pirating and undercover trade by next week. And given the Kumo Council's newfound friends in the Dredger clan community, and with Sirius atmospherics and Sirius mining preparing to exploit the untapped alien resources in the region, it might be just in time for a new chapter in that out-of-the-way corner of the human bubble.
They may have been named after monsters that turned people to stone, that had snakes for hair and indeed many heads. But the Thargoid basilisks, medusas and hydras have been notable mainly by their absence in recent weeks. You could drop into as many non-human signal sources of level 6, 7, 8 and 9 as you liked, and you might see a few scouts, but the main event, the star of the show, the supervillain, the Thargoid Interceptor, would be nowhere to be seen. This was, as interspecies conflict negotiator Sally Morgan Moore noted, hindering Commander's attempts at xenological research. And she's worked her magic. As of late on Tuesday night, the heavy hitters of the Thargoid battle fleet are back in action, together with their full complement of Thargon swarms. So if you really want to spend 45 minutes being trounced in combat by a big ugly space spider flying a slimy green bioship, you once again have that option. It's up to you. Blaze your own trail. See the galaxy. Seek out new life and new civilizations. End up as a slimy lump of goo-covered space wreckage. And enjoy the Remlock ride home.
LaveCon may be over for another year, but But the Buckyball Race, the Lavecon Lockdown Challenge, runs until Sunday the 11th. It's a very silly race involving a keelback, an SRV, a ship launch fighter, and for those lucky enough to have an Odyssey permit, a 200-metre dash on foot. Buckyballers, famed for finishing last, are running their time trial over 9 days to make sure as many people as possible get the chance to clock slower times than Skur and Shea Blackwood. It's a threading the needle kind of race involving travelling through the 2 station entrance tunnels in your SRV, your SLF and your keelback, but thankfully not trekking through them on foot. So, if you fancy having a go, head on over to the Lavecon Lockdown Challenge and make sure you submit your evidence by midnight on Sunday. And remember, it's not winning that matters, it's taking part. And if you believe that, you believe anything. And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News. We read the news so you don't have to. And remember, it's not winning that matters, it's photoshopping that final time screenshot.